What's up, guys, and welcome to my channel. My name is Cello the Fashion Fairy. If you're yet to know how to construct a basic sleeve, definitely keep watching. See you in my tutorial.
Every single day I'm gonna make something great. That's my way. Every single day I'm gonna make something great. That's my way.
So for this tutorial, the following measurements will be needed. In order to get your cap height measurement, you're going to divide your full bust divided by 12 plus 1 inch. Whatever you get will be your cap height. And the cap height measurement, that's the measurement you'll be placing on that line. You'll be using your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches or plus 1 inch. You will also be needing, even though we'll not be using it in this tutorial, your bicep measurement, just to make sure you have the exact thing. So you're going to get the circumference around your bicep, your elbow, and your sleeve opening, and you're also going to get your shoulder to those lengths as well. So let's dive right into the tutorial, guys. So I'll go ahead and mark 1/2 inch from the top of my paper, and this will serve as my top line or my cap line. I usually do this, it's not necessary, but for this tutorial it's very important because it gives me enough room to label it as I see fit. But you can totally skip this part if you are just drafting for your own use. So this is the top line, or is also called the cap line. So we're going to be putting our cap height measurement, which we derived by our full bust divided by 12 plus 1, and for my measurement it is 4.5 inches. So I'll just go ahead and mark 4.5 inches across my paper, and with a straight line I'm just going to connect those dots. So what we're getting now are the vertical measurements. The vertical measurements run from the shoulder to our wrist. So that's what we're doing right now. So from our shoulder point to our elbow measurement, we have 12 inches. So I expect that you use your own measurements for this. Like I said, I will not be using my bicep measurement for this tutorial, but you can go ahead and impute your bicep measurement if you see fit. So for me it's 12 inches from my shoulder to my elbow, and from my top line I'm measuring 12 inches, and I'm just going to rule that across. So I'll just go ahead and label these so that you will not be confused as to what line represents what. So I labeled that other line bicep because that is where I'll be putting my bicep measurement. I'll show you guys how I calculate it, so I don't actually use the measurement itself. So for this elbow, you want to make sure that there is free movement when you measure your client, so you have to ask your client to make that movement to make sure it's free. And for the sleeve opening, please don't measure it here, please measure it at the opening of your wrist because it has to go through your palm. So that is what I've gotten as 9.5 inches. So from my top line as well, I'm just going to measure my sleeve opening or my wrist, and for me it's 24 inches. So it's about the length of my paper, so I'm just going to go ahead and rule it right there. So that is where I'll be placing my sleeve opening measurement or my wrist measurement. Remember, we're not using the wrist, we're using our palm to actually get the measurements that we need. So now we'll be imputing our horizontal measurements, and the first up is the bicep. So I won't be using this 15, although it's there to guide me, so I'll make sure it's not tight. So remember that for every measurement you get, you're going to add at least 1/2 inch to it, or 1 inch for ease. It's better for it to be bigger than for it to be too tight on your client. So this is the measurement I'll be placing on that bicep line. So how do I get this? I'm going to do my bust divided by 6. Either I use plus 1.5 or I'll be using +1 inch, but for this tutorial I'll be using +1 inch. You would notice that it gives you a little bit more room, just free flow of movement right there on your bicep by the time you impute this measurement here. So if you want, you can also put your bicep at that point, but I choose to use my calf height measurement, which I already calculated, and I'm using +1. You may choose to use +1.5. it's actually up to you. The freer the better. So on that bicep line I am going to impute my measurement. So for me it is 7.8 inches, and that's exactly what I have marked at this point. So remember that all your horizontal measurements, you're dividing them by 2 and not by 4. So my 12.5 inches, sorry, I'm going to be dividing that by 2. So whatever I get, I'm just going to go ahead and place it on the elbow line. So for me it's about 6.5 inches. So for my sleeve opening I have 9.5 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and also divide that by 2. 9.5. So whatever I have right there, that's exactly what I'll be putting at my sleeve opening line. Please take note, guys, that after doing this, if you are using your exact measurements, I'd advise that you put at least ½ inch of ease for all your measurements so that you have an ease of movement. Okay, so from this point, that's my top line on my cap line, I'm going to be using a straight line to connect both points together. So from my top line I'm going to rule a line to touch my bicep measurement. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this real quick. So this is my straight line. Please note that this line is only a guide. It doesn't serve as anything. Basically it just serves as a guide for you not to make a mistake while constructing your sleeve. So here I'm just going to measure whatever I have, and I'm going to measure half of it. So I have 9 inches and here is 4.5 inches, and I make a mark right there. So on that mark I'm going to go ½ inch below, and I'm also going to go ½ inch above the line. So we'll go ahead and construct our front and our back sleeve cap. You do know that our front is deeper than our back, so that we eliminate any excess whatsoever. So here I am constructing the front part. So you connect it from that point to the ½ inch mark, and with a curve you connect it back to your bicep measurement. So this is what it looks like, and make sure that any part that is not well straightened out, you're going to use your curve to blend it in better. So here will be our front sleeve cap. So that's our front part right there, and we're going to go ahead and do the back real quick. Notice that I've not really been using the line. It's just served as a guide for me to know where my construction lines should fall in. So take your time, make sure your curve is positioned properly, making sure you don't have a weird outcome really. So you just have to cool down and make sure you're getting it right. So I usually like to take my time to do this because I like getting it right the first time. So I've connected it with my curve, not so curvy curve, and that would serve as my back sleeve. So we're drafting our front and back immediately, so you can I'm just marking the front and the back so that you know how to label yours. So with a straight line I'm just going to connect it. But a quick tip: if you're working for a slimmer client, you might consider using a curve so that it will be a bit more snuggly and there won't be any excess at that under armpit point. But if you're working for a plus size, you should consider using a straight ruler to draft this. So I'm going to do both so that you see how it turns out. So from that elbow line, I'm just going to draw a straight line to meet the sleeve opening. So whatever you have there that is not straight, make sure you straighten it out with your ruler. So for a slimmer client, if she doesn't have Christian mother hands, if it's just a slimmer client, so this one is for a plus size. So if you're working for a slimmer client, you will consider using a curve. So from that point, we're just going to connect it from that bicep line to the elbow line. So the difference between both lines should be about ½ inch, or not so, maybe not up to, but it's enough to give your client a more fitted sleeve. So the first one is for a regular size, and the second line is for a plus size. If you get this right, guys, you would never have any issue with your sleeves anymore, because this always fits so perfectly, I bet you. Let me know if you try this out. You can tag me on Instagram, you can send me a message here, and I will definitely post your pattern. If you're still here, guys, please do consider subscribing to my channel. I post new tutorials every week. You don't want to miss out on any of the tutorials that I have posted. And next week I'm going to release another video, a banging video. I'm sure you wouldn't want to miss that, so why not just subscribe and see you in my next tutorial. So back to our tutorial. If you're cutting it out, you are going to have to cut through the back just like so. So you get rid of this, and we're going to quickly open it up and cut out the front. I like doing this because it saves time, so you can use just one sleeve, one pattern rather, to cut all sorts of sleeves as you may want to, because this sleeve right here, you can actually manipulate it to use it for any other sleeve that you want, which I'll show you quickly. So if you want to cut like this will be my back. Let me label it quickly. So from this pattern, if you want to do your slash and spread, if you want to do your short sleeve, your 3/4 sleeves, is actually up to you. So what you will do is, from your shoulder, you're going to measure the exact length that you're working with, and on this pattern you're just going to place it at the top line, and you're going to put the measurements as needed. So for your short sleeve, okay, first let's do the 3/4. For your 3/4 sleeve, you may decide to use a 16 inches, or you can decide to use 18 inches. But for this tutorial, I'm going to use 16 inches for my 3/4 sleeve. So placing it right there, I'm just going to rule a line across, and whenever I want to make a 3/4 sleeve, I'm just going to fold in the rest of the sleeve, place it on my fabric, add the allowances as needed, and the sleeve is ready. So this is 3/4. This is my short sleeve, 10 inches. So you can see that with this long sleeve pattern, you can actually get any length of sleeve that you so desire. So this is my short sleeve right there. So remember that this pattern does not have any form of allowance whatsoever, so I expect that you add your allowances as needed. So thank you guys for sticking with me throughout this tutorial. I do hope you learned one or two things. Thank you for watching. See you in my next tutorial, and don't forget to subscribe, turn on your notification bells, and see you in my next tutorial. Bye.